Hi and welcome to Know Nothing Angler. Today's video is about bass fishing, smallmouth bass fishing to be precise. I don't usually target largemouth. On occasion I'll go out and get some, but really smallmouth is my favorite. Right now we're in the end of summer, early fall. It's still very hot out. The bass are still in their late summer pattern, and this is one of my favorite times to go out and get smallmouth. It's not usually as productive as earlier in the season, and you're not going to get the same number of giants as you would get in the fall when they're putting on the feed bag for winter. But I really like going out this time of year, and I'm going to show you some of the techniques I like to use. The first one is jerkbait fishing. This is a Rapala ripstop. I think it's size 12, and just get a good look at this here. It's got a very unique paddle on the back of the tail, and this thing is great. I mean, as far as jerkbait fishing goes, this is one of my favorites. This one casts pretty far, and that's what you do. You cast as far as you can. You hold your rod horizontal, sort of parallel to the water, and you pump your rod tip down, whipping it back, like so. And as you do that, you're reeling. So what you're doing is you're causing this erratic bait movement, and you're finishing with a slack line. And when the line is slack, the bass tend to come up and hit. It looks like a dying bait fish. So once again, you tie your line on here and you pump the bait down and reel at the same time. And you'll see in the video how that gets done. And this bait will slash and twist and fly all over the place. And it looks like a dying minnow. And even in this one, you can see the colors. You can see them got some nifty little gills there. This is very bright. It reflects the light perfectly. And when you're casting it, even from far away, you can see the light flashing, and this really drives smallmouth crazy. I cast it over open water at the edge of structure, so I'm trying to drag it towards structure, and they just really get after it. Another technique that I like to use quite a bit. This is sort of the standard fishing technique, especially for beginners and even crappy non-beginners like myself. This is Wacky Rig Fishing. This particular bait is Yamamoto Senko. And there's a package. This is a 5-inch worm. And this color, I don't even know. I think it's called pumpkin. I love greens and reds and black and browns. Those are my favorite. And this, as you can see, is a rubber worm. It's got a bit of a sort of a center line. And Wacky Rigging really is very basic, and I'll show you how I do it. You can get one of these. This is a Wacky Rig Tube, and you can see here I've got these black O-rings. And what you do is you put your bait in the tube. I go a little bit beyond that center mark, like so, and you roll down the black O-ring, and it snaps down the bait just like that. And then you can take your hook and you just, now some guys will grab a bit of the worm. I usually do that too, like so, and that way the bass can't rip it off. You might get some smaller fish biting the edges, and it can pull the worm through the O-ring. So I hook a bit of the worm, but otherwise you can hook through just the ring itself. And when you cast this, it just flutters down, just like so, a little bit slowly. Some guys will put a weight on the top. I do that sometimes as well. It really depends on how patient I'm being. It takes a while for this thing to flutter down. But that flutter is what attracts the bass to come up and give it a bite. This works for largemouth as well. And this flutter action is what you're looking for. If you put a weight on it, it'll pull it down and flutter a bit faster. And once it hits the bottom, I'm just going to pull the hook out. Once it hits the bottom, rest on the bottom, you can give your rod a twitch and reel up a little bit, and you'll pull it, and then it'll flutter back down, pull it towards the boat and flutter back down. But really, for me, it's the cast and the initial sink that gets the most strikes. And then last but not least, probably my favorite technique, and the one I go to the most when I'm under I'm not doing well for the day, is Ned Ringing. And Ned Rigging is another worm technique, another plastic technique. You use a weight like this. This is a mushroom-headed weight. This is a bit of an off-brand, so it's got a weird sort of look to it, but essentially it's just a small 1/0 hook, and it's got, this is a 1/4 ounce. I like a 1/4 ounce for weight, gets me to the bottom faster. And you take a plastic worm, a Ned Ringing worm, and you just feed it through like so, out through the top, push it where the bait holder, and that's it. Pretty simple, about as simple as you're going to get next to maybe the Wacky Rig. And the way this one works is you cast out as far as you can. It drops head down and will sometimes sit, depending on the kind of worm, it'll sit with the worm dangling straight up, and it just kind of bounces along the water. You can give it a little jig, make it pop. You can swim these across the bottom, or you can just kind of slowly reel them in across the bottom. And I really like this technique. You can get it into cover, you can get it into rocks and logs and submerged structure, so I think this is a great technique. This particular worm I'm using is from the brand Exxon. This is what theirs looks like. Great worm. It's got a weird sort of bulge at the tail. It floats very well and it kind of wobbles along very well. The bait doesn't last very long, and it's probably my only criticism. The colors are fantastic, but the bait doesn't last very long. And maybe 2 or 3 fish and it starts to come apart. Of course, you've caught 2 or 3 fish, so it may not be the most serious complaint, but that's really the only problem I have with this bait. It's fantastic, I love it. Another one I started using this year is from a company called True North Baits. I see them online all the time, so I decided to give them a go. They call this a Flanders. I believe this is 2.5 inches as well. It's a great looking bait. Love the color. It's durable, more durable than the Exxon lure, and it floats very well. I mean, wiggles sort of very well, a bit tighter. I think it's great, fantastic. And then the one I go to the most, actually, before I do that, I'll show you the package so you have it. TrueNorthBaits.com. They're based out of, I think, Curtis, Ontario. So good opportunity to buy local if you can. That's always my preference. And the one I go to the most is from a company called Z-Man. They're an American brand. This is their package there. This color is called Copper Truce, sort of a dual color there, and this is how it looks rigged up. My favorite part about this lure, it's got a great little wiggle, but it is, as you can see, very, very durable. So this particular one, I pulled directly out of my tackle box just for this video. You can see it's pretty chewed, and yet it still holds up quite a bit. I've caught a number of fish, larger fish, on this specific lure, and this worm has held up fantastically. I mean, you can even see the paint chipping out. That's how much of a beating this thing has taken from the jig head, but it still holds on. So this is one of my go-to favorites. So those are 3 techniques you can use. Wacky rigging, jerkbait fishing, and my go-to, the Ned Rig. And yeah, hopefully these techniques will help you land a larger bass this year. And as we wind down into fall, which is also a great time to catch some smallmouth, and hopefully I can get some this year and do a video for that. But anyways, have a quick look at this video. Enjoy the blooper at the end. It's pretty funny. And this time it's not at my expense, which is always nice. And yeah, take care. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll talk to you soon.
gross. Shit. Ugh. Oh, booger. That counts, right?